Hello guys, I'm Super Ron. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to T5 week. This week we're doing daily episodes of everything we're doing on this T5 shuttle camper conversion. We've got all the split charge system in, we've got all the leisure batteries in, and now it is firing up on the button. Now we want to progress to be able to plug it in the campsite. With a van, it's usually quite easy because you've got loads of surface area on the side. You can buy little sockets that you just cut a hole, little flap goes up, pushes in. It's a little bit tricky on this van because it is a short wheelbase van, which means the sliding door, when it opens, goes all the way back to the rear quarter. So when you open the slider, it goes all the way back, so you can't put a socket in here because obviously that'll just snap it off. So usually what you do is put it on the other side. But because this is a T5 shuttle, it's a minibus, so it has twin sliders. So we can't put it on this side either. So what some people do is just they have a little attachment underneath so you can just go up, plug it in. I'm not really too keen on them because obviously you get all the splash of traveling and driving and everything else, and they're just going to get covered in muck, eventually corrode up. Also a bit vulnerable if you're going over a rough field and happen to hit it and then it just breaks off. So not really a fan of that. The other thing I've seen people do is convert this panel here, put a hinge on it so it opens up like a door, and then you have your plug in there, which I do really like the idea of. When it's closed, it's completely hidden, but when it's open, it's just on a flimsy little hinge, and I just kind of feel like that's going to get whacked off when people are around the camper van, when the door's opening and closing, and then you've got the cable coming out the back right in the way of the door. The other thing I've seen people do is put it next to the socket for the tow bar, which probably isn't a bad space, but the only thing, you're going to be on your knees in the wet grass, trying to find it, trying to plug it in. Some people tuck it up out the way because you've got your spare wheel here as well. If you get to a campsite, not the sort of thing you really want to do. Also, when you're going in and out the back door, you're going to be kicking all around in this area. And that's the same problem with putting them under the sill as well. You're going to be on your hands and knees in the rain, in the mud, because it always rains when you're camping. So what a lot of people do is put them right at the front. So what is super common for people to do is just put them in the engine bay. They usually just have a socket hanging around in here, usually not that greatly installed. So you just open your bonnet and then you can plug it in. Nice and convenient because you're standing up, you'll take that off, plug it in, put your bonnet down, and then you just have your cable hanging out of here. Most people do say you can push it down and it doesn't trap it or anything, so all the alarm and everything is all set, but just looks a bit untidy, a little bit unfinished. So we want to go to the next level. So I'll see on some electric cars, they have the badge flip open and then you plug it in the front. I have seen some people selling these for the T5.1s and the T6s, where they have a new grille and this flips open and you can plug it in for the mains camper conversion. But they're £300 and you need the socket, and it goes into hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds, and it's not even for a T5. So Super Ron started thinking outside the box, started having a measure up and seeing what I could find on a budget. So if we look along our pile of bits that we've got to fit to this van, we have this motorhome socket. So what this is meant, just like all the others I'm talking about, you just drill a hole, put it in, and when you get to the campsite, you just open the door and there's your socket. Now what I started thinking about, what if we put this on the front here, so when you get to the campsite, you just open that up. And when it's closed, it's going to look like a nice flat cover. You're not even going to notice it, except for the missing badge. But my research continues, and a Polo 6N boot badge is the perfect size that fits on there. So we'll have that on the front, slightly smaller badge, but unless you're looking, I don't think you notice. And the main draw for this is the same price as the little square ones that you get on the side. This was only $29.99 posted to my door, so I thought it was definitely worth a go. The only thing worrying me is how deep it is. So obviously the badge is going to go here. I need to find out whether we've got this amount of room to go behind it. So one lucky thing on this van, it hasn't got aircon, so I'm hoping that's going to give me the extra room I need between the radiator. So I think it's time to find out whether my genius idea is going to be a genius idea or not work at all. So let's get this grill out, see whether we've got the clearance. So you don't have to take the whole bumper off to get these grills out. This insert in the middle part comes out. Bonnet up, battery tray out. Most of the clips are already missing, making our job a little bit easier. But what I am seeing is there is an extra radiator in here. We've got our main radiator, we've got our power steering cooler, and then we've got our intercooler sitting just behind the badge. Didn't account for that. So let's pop this off, see what clearance we've got. Pops out. So here is the unaccounted for intercooler at the bottom. But I think Should be all right. So let's have a measure up before we actually cut out the middle. But the plan of action is to cut the circle there. The lid is slightly smaller, so I might leave the chrome on there just as a bit of an overlap, and cut out the middle and take some measurements. Pop the badge off, got the grill back in. So if we put our measuring stick in, is our distance to here. I think we are just going to be okay. If we've got the badge on there as well and the little gasket, I think we are going to lock in. So let's cut a hole and keep our fingers crossed. Because these badges are so big, that doesn't quite cover all the holes, I don't think. So I might put the ring on the outside. I'll have a little measure up, because that'll look a bit neater if it is just black plastic, but won't look too bad with a chrome ring as well. And then just chop out the VW in the middle, and that'll sit on there like that. Let's have a measure up, see if we can cover those holes, but I don't think we're quite gonna be able to. That's the gasket that goes inside, so I've just drawn around that. So this is the hole that we actually need for this to pass through. We don't want to cut it too big, because obviously our bolt holes have got to bolt through this. See how much smaller the hole is than that. So we'll snip that out, and then we can actually try it in. So I'm just going to use an air saw and a little Dremel, and this will be definitely the point of no return now. And we have a hole. So let's see. If we fit in, I think we're going to be all right. It's just raised up slightly. Might just be touching on the bottom, but I think we can bring this out a bit. With a bit of adjustment, we'll be okay. Something that might help us is this bit actually slides off. That's where you connect the wires up in there, but this is the area where we might have clearance problems. I was going to have to sort something here, because usually all of this is inside the van, so this isn't watertight. So what I was going to do is just run sealer all the way around here, and that would solve that problem. It's watertight on the outside, and then it has a foam ring that goes around there, but usually all this is on the inside of the van, so it doesn't need to be waterproof. But as we're on the front of the van, we do. So I can modify this. We could put the cables in and then seal up that end. Got a few options there, but it is definitely going in. So next up, using our adapter ring, I'm going to take out the VW and just leave the chrome bit. So I'll snip that out, and that should pack up nicely to fit. Chopped. It's got to look worse before it gets better. Now this should slide in there. And a bit more trimming. And now I've got the chrome ring sitting all the way around, so that's pushed all the way in. Let's kind of recess that a bit better. And then the outside of this will just overlap that. So I think that'll work nice. They say don't clip this on until the very last minute. So we've got to put our screws in, and then when we clip that on, there'll be no getting this off without destroying it. You can see the foam pad there that presses up against this. So when that is shut, that'll keep this watertight. We've just got to do our own DIY on the back. But that is fitting in there well. And there it is, all screwed in. It does come with screws just to screw it straight into the plastic. But I think when we're pulling this out, we're going to want this as secure as possible. So I just put some speed spires on there on the back, just so it's not pulling straight on the plastic. That is nice and purchased. We're going to have proper clips along the top, so that'll hold the grill in, and these push against the bumper, so it's going to be nice and secure on the car. Just want to make sure the socket doesn't pull out of there. And back on the van, this is looking super cool. This is exactly what I was going for. It does look like it sticks out quite far, but that's fixed to this point, and this is where the lid clips on, so that's all going to be covered nicely. Coming together. I've got that little plate off the back at the moment. We're just seeing how much clearance we've got to the intercooler under there. But we have got our e-transporter charge point coming along. That's not fully clipped on yet, but it's just placed on. That'll be there. The lid will go up like that, and it'll expose the socket. And then when it's down, that'll sit down like that. We're going to be flush all the way round, so it's actually worked out perfectly. The lid closes and snaps shut, and our 6N Polo badge will sit in the middle. That'll be pretty cool. Right, let's carry on. A bit more fettling, and I've got the grill clipped in all the way, which it never was before, because you can see where the last person gelled up the bumper, there's a gap now, so it wasn't ever actually fully clipped in. So now, when the top's clipped in, this is a solid. Exactly what I wanted. I didn't want this being pulled on, then the grill comes out or something comes loose. This has made it nice and secure, so that is perfect. The experiment is paying off. So now, something I've been really excited to do, we've got our plug-in lead from 12 Volt Planet as well. So this end plugs into your shore supply on the campsite, and this side plugs in there. See how secure it is? Happy with that. That is not going anywhere. So it's all very well and good, but we have got a very vulnerable plug here. We need to cover this up. So this cover just clips on places. There's clips there, 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 and it's got some brackets there for the hinge. But what they said is make sure you are completely happy and finished, because if you put this on, when you take it off again, all these will snap. But I am happy that is on there. We're all wired up, we're all sealed up, we're all screwed in. So I've been trimming away at the chrome rim so the lid fits inside it, but I'm just not too happy about how the edge is finishing. Don't know if you can see it on the camera, but all the chrome is chipping and it's really not leaving a nice edge. You can see the chrome is peeling away there. My original plan was for the lid to overlap that, so you wouldn't see any of that, so it would be okay. But as we've got to go the other way around and the chrome ring has got to go on top, I'm just not happy with the fit and finish on that really. But luckily, in preparation, I did get a black badge because I wasn't sure how the chrome was going to look. So I got a black one as well, just to see what it would look like. It's only a Chinese copy one, but I think that might save us here. Because if we rotate it slightly, we can nearly get all the screw holes covered up. Which means I can cut out the centre and actually put the socket on top of this instead. So it won't be recessed into this lip. And then when we put the lid on, that will be the same level as this. So I think that's what I'm going to do. And then we'll just have to space out this one down here. And to be honest, I think the black ring will probably look better because that'll blend in nicely. So I'm going to chop this one down more here, just so the socket can fall down the middle. It seems with every project I do, I am my own worst enemy. I just strive for perfection, and that chrome rim that would have sat around there looks like it's been cut out with a chainsaw. Wouldn't have been good enough to put the Super On name on. So let's go with this black one. We'll trim it out a little bit different, and that should work. So let's get chopping. On, off, on, off, on, off, all in the aid of research and development. So here is the black badge. Does look pretty cool, matches the grill. So if I take the tabs off, we can rotate this round slightly, and then I'll cut there, 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 and there, not right to the edge. So if we look at our gasket, we'll just cut out that middle section for the socket to pop in, like so, which then allows this to slot in over the top. And we're in. I do like that black ring round much better. And also now we are sitting proud of the badge. So we can clip our lid on and that will sit flush to the badge around here, giving a really nice finish. And then we'll have our little open door. So I'm happy with how that's sitting, nice and central. I've put the little gasket in there. 50 million tries later, I am happy. Right, happy how that is all sitting flush in there. So we're all screwed on tight. So it's definitely time to commit. Let's clip it on. Like that. No going back now. And there it is on. Really happy with how that has finished off. That sits nicely on there, clips in, secures the lid shut. There it is. Ah, but we are looking a little bit plain, so let's try our polo badge on there. V double me up. Bring that in the middle, straight and stuck. Love it. This little project has really got me fired up. So there is our VW once again. So it does look a little bit odd. If you were to look at it and think, something's not quite right there. You can see sticks out a little bit further than standard, but it does kind of look like the crafter badges are like that. So it's not out of place for a Volkswagen. You just pull up to the campsite and plug in. Super happy with that. Right, let's get it wired in. So that's just a little notch I had to cut out. It might have been all right. It would have been wedged up there. It might have been okay, but I always like to have a little bit of clearance. So we'll sort that hole out. So we'll put all our electrics in. The wire's going to come out the bottom there. And then because this isn't actually watertight here, I'm going to run a bit of sealer all the way around there. Probably going to drill some little holes along here so the wire can come out, attach, but be hidden behind the slats of the grill so no one's going to see it. And then that's going to go in there, round, probably follow the red wire around and continue into the cabin where our split charge wire goes. All our electric cables, cable in, mains power, 12 volt power, plug-in lead, consumer unit, charger, everything electrical has been supplied by 12 volt Planet. So we're going to use the cable to attach it to our consumer unit. This is 2.5mm 20 amp blue cord, and that's what we're going to run from a plug here inside the van. Untangled that. And this is just 2.5mm 3-core flexible wire. We've got live, neutral and earth. And then on the back of our socket, just like wiring up a plug. And there we are, all wired in. As we're on stranded cable, just put ferrules on there just to get a bit better connection. But we've got our anchor point on there. So that's, if anything tugs on that, that's not going to pull on the terminals and pull them out. Then we've got a cover, goes down, and that's where the cable comes out. So we have got this hole in the bottom now, so I'll seal that up. Seal all around there, and then that bit will be nice and watertight. I just drilled little holes where you can't see them in the grill and attached cable ties around, so now this is fully secured in there, not waggling around anywhere, which is perfect. So that's going to go through there, but you're not going to see it through the grill. So I want to have a bit of a system so I can have a bit of a loop in there, because when you take off the grill, I'm going to need to get this out the way a bit before we can remove it. So if anyone ever wants to remove the bumper, they'll be pretty annoyed if this is hardwired in. So I'll leave a bit around the back that we can pull forwards to get this out and then disconnect it from there. I'm well happy with that. Just got the battery back out the way so we can get to where our wires need to run through. We've got this plate to come out. And remember, that has a bolt there and there's a bolt under this tray. But to save taking all the wipers off, you can get your tool through the little vent here, save taking the wipers out. So you undo that, and the plate pulls out. Now what some people do is they just drill a hole in here to run the cables through. The trouble with that, you need to get inside here because that's where the top bolt is for the suspension strut. So if you need to do any suspension work, you need to get in there. So if you've drilled a hole through this and put a wire through it, you then can't take that out. So what we did, we ran it through the factory grommet down there. This is the wire for the split charge system, runs down through there. So I'm going to run our cables through that and then through that grommet at the back as well, which is a factory grommet. And just like I've run all this in conduit, got some more conduit to run that in, just so it's a bit safer in the engine bay. With all the heat, the grind, the exposure, even though this is nice thick insulation, it's all good to have it safe. So I've just got our hole in the bottom of our cover in that corner we cut out. Done over with Gorilla Tape, so that'll be nice and watertight now. So before I put this in, I'm just going to run a bead of sealer all the way around all the holes. There is going to be these small holes in the bottom, but I think that'll be beneficial to us because if any moisture does get in there, that's going to be right at the bottom, so that'll be like a drain off. And then if we ever do want to get in here again, we can just run a razor blade around the edge, and this will pop off, revealing all our connections. So we'll get that sealed on, and then the grill can go on for the final time. There we go, all sealed up. Like that, smooth it around. Sealed. So that is the only downfall of using this much cheaper box, is all of this should be inside the van, so it's not watertight. But with that little bit of sealer, that should be fine. I've just reeled the conduit on, so that's now ready to roll. And there it is, running up through the factory grommet with the split charge cable there. So I managed to fit it through, no cuts, no extra holes needed. And what I said earlier about people putting it through that plate, you then can't get it off because there is the top mount. And you need to get to that to take the suspension off. So the next mechanic, which would probably be me, wouldn't be very happy if you couldn't get that plate off. So that's running around there. So the cable now runs up to the factory grommet and then it swirls round, and there wasn't enough room next to this one. Forward planning, I might have been able to fit two, so I just drilled a hole, put a grommet there, then we've got the conduit over, so that'll be nice and safe. So we can tuckle that away, and then the wire carries on inside. And there it is, all secured and clipped in place. I am so happy with how this come out. Doesn't look out of place. Unless you actually know what it looks like there, you wouldn't even suspect. Then we've got the wires running. You can just see the blue under there. Then that goes into the conduit. But from the front, you can't see any of that. And it loops out here, down across, runs under, and then through our grommet there with our split charge cable. When the mechanic comes along, he can still get to the strut top and get to all the bolts there. So that's not a problem. So now we can put all our covers back in, battery back in. And this part of the project will be done. I was just having a little flick through the Transport HQ catalogue that came with the installation. And they do have an E-Grille 240 volt hookup, but it's only for the T6 and T6.1, so for the later transporters. But it is £228. It does look quite cool, and it looks like it keeps the normal size badge. So it does look a little bit more sleek than ours. Does it look £200 better than ours? Definitely not. Also seen they've got the little hinges for that panel that I said about under the rear light that you can open and close. But even that is 150 quid, and then you still need the hookup on top of that. So I think we've done all right on our little budget. And with that all in and finished, we can now wrap up day 2 of T5 week. We've got the badge all in, and I could not be happier. I think it looks really good. Unless you actually know what the badge should look like, it doesn't look out of place. And I can't wait to see it at the campsite with its nose flipped up. And best of all, compared to the factory fitted ones, which are hundreds and hundreds of pounds, we have done this one for £30 and a little bit of hard work. So this finishes up this episode, but we will be back tomorrow where we're going to unbox all the bits we've got from 12 Volt Planet and get this wiring actually going somewhere, because at the minute it pokes into the car but doesn't go any further. So that is going to be in tomorrow's episode. We're going to get full electriced up inside the van. So make sure you tune in for that. But until next time, make sure you have fun.